I spent my whole life thinking I had to earn love, until the day I finally understood I am love. And when that awareness flooded me, something magical happened. My entire world began to shift. For a long time, I lived like someone wandering through an emotional desert. I looked around and saw people smiling, connecting, receiving love. And inside me, there was always that question: why not me? I tried to look strong, confident, but deep down, there was a silent emptiness, a constant echo whispering, "You're not enough." Those words followed me for years, even if I never said them out loud. They were like background music in my life, and that's how so many of us live, with rehearsed smiles, trying to please, trying to be perfect. Because deep down, we believe that only then will we be worthy of love. It's an invisible wound, but a powerful one. And you know what hurts the most? It starts early, long before we even understand what worthiness means. When we're children, and we learn that we have to behave, to please, to stay quiet, to apologize just for being ourselves. That's when it begins. In that imposed silence, the seed of unworthiness is planted. I vividly remember moments from my childhood when I felt like I was too much, too intense, too sensitive, too spontaneous, and all those natural qualities started being trimmed away, as if I had to fit into a mold that was never mine. The message was clear: to be loved, I had to stop being who I was. And I believed it. I grew up carrying this powerful but negative belief that love was something to be earned, not something natural. That belief became my energetic frequency. I found myself in relationships where I was invisible, jobs where my voice went unheard, friendships that only existed when I sacrificed myself. And the universe, in its precise wisdom, gave me exactly what I was putting out. Because the law of attraction doesn't respond to our stated desires. It responds to our actual vibration. And mine, up to that point, was a mix of emotional scarcity, self-denial, and fear of abandonment. That was the reality I co-created. Unconsciously, I was manifesting exactly what I feared most: rejection, devaluation, lack of love. Not because I wanted it, but because that's what I expected. That's what I believed I deserved. Then something small happened, but it held deep meaning. One day, after yet another emotionally disrespectful situation in a relationship, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried. But it wasn't an ordinary cry. It was ancestral, as if every generation before me, every woman in my lineage, was crying with me. And in that moment, I didn't beg for love. I asked for truth. I asked for light. I asked the universe to show me the root of my pain. And it did. Not with a voice in the sky or a mystical vision. It came as a sudden memory. Me, at 5 years old, trying to be heard, trying to express what I felt, and being ignored. That moment was a break. That's when I started to believe that my feelings didn't matter. In that instant, alone on the cold floor, I understood. The pain I was living with wasn't from now. It was old, stored, suffocated. But it wasn't my essence. It was a layer, a lie I had accepted as truth. So I took a deep breath and said out loud, for the first time, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I don't have to do anything to deserve it. I already am. Those simple but powerful words echoed inside me with a strength I had never felt. I was doing something new, creating a new, powerful intention, planting a new energetic frequency in my field. From that day on, I began a daily practice of healing and manifestation. First, gratitude. Every morning, before even getting out of bed, I said, "Thank you, universe, for reminding me of my worth. Thank you, universe, because today I treat myself with respect. Thank you, universe, for loving me just as I am." Gratitude has a magical power. It puts us in a state of receiving. Even more, it helps us vibrate as if what we desire is already real. And that is the secret of co-creation. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you vibrate. Then came creative visualization. I imagined myself in situations where I was treated with care, where my opinions mattered, where my boundaries were respected. And most importantly, I felt the emotion of that desired reality in my body. What would it feel like to walk through the world with that certainty vibrating inside me? And finally, affirmations. Every day, standing in front of the mirror, looking into my own eyes, I repeated, "I am enough. I am worthy. I love myself. I choose myself. I honor myself." These affirmations began to reprogram my subconscious, because everything we are today is the result of repetition. And if we've spent years repeating, "I'm not good enough," then yes, we need to firmly repeat the new truth until it becomes natural. And you know what's most surprising? The universe responded, not with loud miracles, but with subtle synchronicities. People started treating me differently. Unaligned relationships naturally drifted away. I began to attract situations where my presence was valued, because I had started valuing my own presence. The outer world was simply reflecting my new vibrational alignment. And the most beautiful part is that this transformation didn't come from outside. It was born within me. The moment I stopped fighting for approval and began recognizing the light that had always existed inside me. When I stopped chasing love like someone begging and started offering love to myself like someone overflowing. Today, I know I am worthy of love and respect, not because I did something to earn it, but because it is the essential truth of who I am. And it all begins the moment you choose to believe. After that awakening moment, I realized there was a big difference between knowing I was worthy of love and actually living as someone who believes that. It's one thing to say I love myself. It's something much deeper to act every day from that love. That's when I started observing my habits, my choices, my words. I realized how many times I was betraying myself in small daily actions. How often I said yes when I meant no. How many times I stayed silent to avoid conflict, even if it meant going against my inner truth. That subtle behavior of self-abandonment was completely misaligned with the new reality I was co-creating, because manifestation isn't just a mental process. It requires vibrational coherence. The universe responds when our words, feelings, and actions are in harmony. And then I understood. If I truly wanted to live as a woman who feels worthy of love and respect, I had to start behaving like her. I started with simple gestures, saying no with love, but with firmness, prioritizing my rest, setting healthy boundaries without guilt, walking away from toxic conversations, choosing clothes that made me feel good, eating with presence, touching myself with care, speaking to myself with kindness. It may seem trivial, but it's those details that shape our vibration. When I choose what respects me, the universe understands. She knows her worth. Let's send her more experiences that reflect that. And that's exactly what began to happen. The people around me started treating me with more care, not because they changed, but because I changed my frequency. I stopped vibrating lack and started vibrating wholeness. I stopped broadcasting "please love me" and began emanating "I love myself, and that's enough." This new alignment brought me peace, but it also brought moments of loneliness, yes. Because when you raise your energetic frequency, certain connections naturally dissolve. Some people only know how to relate to your wounded version, and when you begin to heal, they no longer recognize you. At first, it hurt. I thought I was losing something, but over time, I realized I was simply making space. The energy of a new reality needs room to flourish, and that's exactly what happened. New friendships emerged, people with the same vibe, with the same level of awareness, with the same desire to grow. People who didn't compete, didn't demand, didn't pressure. People who simply connected through essence, not through need. And little by little, I learned how to sustain this new version of myself. I began looking in the mirror with different eyes, recognizing my beauty without needing external validation. I started meditating every day, even if just for 5 minutes, affirming with conviction. Today, I treat myself with respect. Today, I radiate love. Today, I am my own best company. And the more I practiced, the more natural it became. My mind, once conditioned to criticize, began to rewire itself. It was like I was rewriting my internal code, shifting from a pattern of unworthiness to the flow of conscious manifestation. I also began using the soul mirror technique, looking into my own eyes for one silent minute. At first, it was uncomfortable. I cried. I felt exposed. But over time, this practice became a gateway to reconnection. Because when you truly see yourself without masks, you access your essence, and that essence is pure love. It was in that moment that I understood, unshakably, everything begins and ends with me. I am the source of my reality. I am the creator, the co-creator. With that awareness, my manifestation became more powerful. I no longer asked for love. I radiated love. I no longer begged for respect. I emanated respect. And the universe, always fair, always faithful, began to return to me in double everything I gave to myself. The key was never in chasing something external. The key was remembering who I am, a complete, abundant, deserving being, an extension of the divine, a spark of the source. And that remembrance changed everything. When you truly start living with the certainty that you are worthy of love and respect, something shifts in a nearly invisible, yet profoundly powerful way. It's as if the entire world begins speaking your language. Synchronicities intensify. The right people show up. opportunities flow with greater ease, and life, which once felt like a battlefield, begins to transform into a fertile garden of possibilities. And this isn't magic in the mystical sense, it's vibrational science. It's conscious manifestation. It's intentional co-creation. I began to see clearly that my energy was shaping my reality at all times. It wasn't just theory anymore. It was a living, daily, present experience. I began to notice how everything responded to my frequency. If I woke up grateful, even without a reason, the day would return unexpected kindness. If I looked in the mirror and told myself, "You're beautiful," even with dark circles, even with imperfections, somehow, someone on the street would compliment my smile, or a friend would send a loving message. The universe started playing with me in the best way possible. It was as if it were saying, "Now that you're listening, let me show you what I can do." And here's the truth. The universe was always responding. What changed was that now I was vibrating consciously. Before, when I believed I had to please to be loved, I was vibrating lack. I attracted criticism, rejection, imbalanced relationships. Now, my powerful intention was clear. I am worthy of love. I am love. I respect myself, and I attract respect. That intention began to guide every choice I made, and that had consequences. Some beautiful, others challenging. Because when you align with a new vibration, anything that doesn't match it begins to fall away. Some old friendships simply faded away. People I thought would be in my life forever began to drift apart. At first, it hurt. I questioned it. I thought I was losing something precious. But over time, I understood it wasn't rejection. It was vibrational realignment. These people were connected to my former self, the one who settled for less, who begged for affection, who stayed silent to avoid conflict. Now that I was vibrating self-love and truth, those relationships naturally became incompatible. And that's okay. Freedom often comes disguised as goodbye. At the same time, new people started to appear. Relationships that were more mature, more conscious. People who looked into my eyes, who respected my time, my energy, my silence. And the most beautiful part was that I was no longer seeking anything in anyone, because everything I once thought was missing was now overflowing within me. I had become my own source. And that is powerful, because the frequency of someone who recognizes themselves as the source is irreversible. There's no turning back. You might stumble sometimes, but you never lose yourself completely, because now there is a center, a core, an unshakable certainty that you are indeed worthy of everything good, fair, loving, and light. This new vibration started to manifest in every area of my life, in my work. I began to be seen different. My ideas were heard. Offers started coming to me without me having to chase them. The energy around my career shifted because I stopped operating from scarcity, thinking I need this to prove my worth, and started acting from wholeness, thinking I share my gift with the world. In my health, my body began to respond. I slept better. I had more energy. I ate with more awareness, not as a form of punishment, but as celebration. My body stopped being a battlefield and became a temple, a sacred home in my spirituality. My connection with the universe deepened. I started noticing signs, synchronicities, meaningful dreams. In one of them, I was walking through a lavender field and I heard the phrase, "You are love in human form. Nothing needs to be done, only remembered." That dream became a mantra every time doubt crept in. Because yes, it still did. I would repeat to myself, "I am love in human form. Nothing needs to be done, only remembered." And I would return to my center, to the frequency of truth, to the field of aligned manifestation. I started using techniques that helped me stay in vibrational alignment. Gratitude journaling focused on self-love. Each night, I wrote down 3 moments from my day when I honored myself. Whether big or small, I celebrated every gesture of love toward myself. Affirmations with emotion in the body. I said things like, "I am worthy of everything I desire," while looking into the mirror with my hand over my heart. I repeated it until I felt warmth and expansion, because emotion activates vibration. Creative visualization before sleep. I imagined scenes from the reality I wished to experience. A healthy relationship, a loving workspace, a harmonious home. I felt it, as if it were already real. I am meditation. I sat in silence and repeated, "I am worthy. I am love. I am light. I am everything the universe wants to express." I breathed deeply and let that become my truth. These practices anchored me, and over time, they became a natural part of my life. No longer an effort, but a joy. Because once you experience the richness of your own presence, you never want to abandon yourself again. One of the most powerful moments came during an encounter with someone who had deeply hurt me. In the past, before, I would have frozen, shrunk, tried to appear mature while swallowing the pain. But this time, I stood differently. I looked them in the eyes. I stayed grounded. I spoke calmly and said, "Today, I know my worth. And because of that, I release you, without anger, without resentment, but with the certainty that I no longer allow anyone to cross the boundaries of my dignity." It felt like a rite of passage. I felt a lightness in my chest, an energetic closure, a freedom that only arrives when the heart is truly at peace. In that moment, I saw clearly. I was no longer the same. That's what co-creation does. It doesn't change the world for you. It changes you, and the world responds today. I walk with this truth engraved in my soul. Everything I desire already belongs to me, because I am worthy, because I am vibration, because I am the living expression of love in human form. And that truth is eternal. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's also on this path of reconnecting with self-love. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with me in this mission of spreading light, self-worth, and conscious manifestation. Because together, we're creating a new world. After all I've lived through, all the wounds I've healed, all the choices I've made, there is one phrase that echoes in my heart like an anthem of freedom. I am worthy of love and respect, and nothing and no one can convince me otherwise. And you know why? Because now I feel it in every cell. It's no longer just a sentence. It's a constant vibration. It's the space I live in. It's the lens through which I see myself and the world. And getting here was never about becoming someone new. It was about remembering who I've always been. That's the magic of the spiritual journey. It doesn't turn you into something else. It reconnects you with the ancient truth that was buried beneath layers of pain, guilt, fear, and conditioning the whole time. That strength, that light, that pure and complete love were already inside me. But I had to go through the process to release what was never mine, to heal what wasn't fair, to let go of what no longer made sense. And with every release, my vibration rose, my energy expanded, and the universe moved with me. I remember one specific morning when I woke up with an unexplainable peace. It felt like the silence itself was holding me. I walked to the window, took a deep breath, and felt, as if for the first time, that I was whole. Not because I had achieved something, not because someone praised me, but because I was aligned with my essence. That is the experience every human being deserves to live. The reunion with their own wholeness. But to get there, you need courage. Courage to silence the voices that say you can't. Courage to walk away from those who don't respect you. Courage to put yourself first. Courage to say enough to your old self. Courage to hold your light even when the world tries to drag you back into the dark. Aqui esta tradicao final, fluida, feel autom original isemo uso do character proibido. O texto está completamente pronto para narraco comia. And I chose that courage. Every single day, even on the days when it felt hard, even when everything inside me screamed for external validation, because I understood that the only approval that truly matters is the one that comes from within. And the more I approved of myself, the more I listened to myself, I began to notice the signals from my body, the whispers from my soul. I started to understand that everything is connected, and that the way I treated myself directly influenced everything I attracted. If I nourished myself with respect, my body responded with energy. If I spoke to myself with love, my mind found peace. If I cared for my home like a temple, it became a field of vibrational safety. If I said no when something crossed my boundaries, life brought me something better right after. It was as if the universe kept saying, "Thank you for finally treating yourself the way you deserve. Now I can give you what has always been yours." And that wasn't a coincidence. It was manifestation. It was co-creation. It was the direct result of a powerful intention to live in alignment with my dignity. But of course, the path wasn't always linear. There were setbacks, moments when the old programming tried to return, days when I felt fragile, vulnerable, missing the comfort of my old zone, even knowing it hurt me, because pain, sometimes, can be addictive. We get so used to not feeling enough that the silence of peace feels unfamiliar. But I learned something precious. Self-love is not a destination. It's a daily practice. Every day, I chose again. Every day, I started over. And the more I practiced, the more that vibration became my natural state. I began creating rituals of self-love. In the morning, before touching my phone, I connected to the source through conscious breathing. I simply inhaled gratitude and exhaled any doubt. In the mirror, I spoke my affirmations with firmness and presence. I respect myself. I love myself. One choose myself. At night, I gave thanks for every decision that kept me aligned with my essence. I celebrated every boundary. I honored every time I said no with love, every time I chose myself. This daily practice began to shape a new vibrational field around me. People noticed, without me saying a word. They would say, "There's something different about you. You seem calmer, more grounded, more radiant." And I would smile, because I knew it was the vibration of dignity. It was the frequency of aligned manifestation. It was the glow of a soul returning to its rightful place. I became a presence. And the most beautiful part is that in that space, you no longer need to convince anyone of anything. You simply are. And being is enough. Opportunities began to flow. Work invitations aligned with my purpose. Emotionally conscious relationships. Deep conversations. Genuine connections. All of it began to orbit around my new vibration. Because now, I no longer accepted less. And not out of arrogance, but out of love. I no longer had to beg for love, because I was love. I no longer sought approval, because my presence was enough. I no longer feared rejection, because I would never reject myself again. That is the key to true transformation. When you hold your vibration, the world shifts around you. And I say this with an open heart. You can to dot. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen, how many wounds you carry, how often you've doubted yourself. What matters is the now, this choice, this moment. Close your eyes with me now. Take a breath and say out loud, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I am the living expression of the divine source. And today, I manifest a new reality rooted in my non-negotiable worth. Repeat this whenever you need to remember, whenever you start to forget, because remembering is what heals. You were born whole. You were born enough. You were born to be respected, loved, and celebrated. And that truth was never lost. It was only asleep. Now you are awake. And the world is ready to receive your light, so go. Manifest the life of your dreams. Live from your worth. Create realities from your energy. And remember, you are worthy. You are powerful. You are love. Thank you deeply for walking this path with me. This was my story, but it can also be yours. If this touched your heart, share this message. If it felt true, subscribe. And if your soul resonated with mine, leave a comment saying, I remember who I am.